Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, the home for financial advice in a language you can understand. Created by Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial, he and his team of certified financial planner professionals will discuss timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. And now, get ready for this week's edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial.
Welcome to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you with some financial advice in a language you can understand. It's been a busy week this week.
It really has. You know, it used to be, I think that at the beginning of September, everybody realized, it's back to school, fresh start. It seems here in the office that it actually started in the middle of September, and it's kept up.
It really has.
Yeah,
And,
we've been busy.
one of the things that's been interesting that's happened just over the past couple months, more and more of our clients who are now in their 80s are asking their younger children, their children who are in their 60s or so, to visit the office with them.
Right.
And what's been really remarkable, they've come in first to learn about how we've been handling mom and dad's assets, how we've been handling their financial plan, how we're making the assurances that they won't run out of money based upon the plan that we've put together, what's going to happen if one of them passes away, how we make decisions on where to take money, whether it's taxable or not.
Exactly, for their monthly income needs.
Right, and they listen to this and they say to me, I've been working with a financial advisor for the longest time and
Right.
they don't do any of that stuff. I'm surprised you do all that stuff for my parents. And remarkably, we have had so many appointments over the past few months of the kids saying, hey, would you mind if I came in and had an initial consultation to learn more about how my stuff might work with you?
Yeah, and it's interesting because Mark's dad, Barry, started the firm so long ago. We do have a lot of those clients who are in their 80s, and the kids are getting ready to retire.
Yeah.
And they are very concerned about how they meet those income needs during retirement and throughout their life expectancy. Remember, if their parents are in their late 80s, they have a good chance of living that long as well.
Absolutely. And in many cases, what they've found is that, like many people did when they're in their 60s or so, they realize, I got all this stuff, but it's everywhere. I've got this guy I bought an annuity from, or this person that I bought a mutual fund from, this person who rolled over my 401k, this person gives me advice, the accountant that I work with referred me to somebody, the attorney does this, and they just have never all put it all together for someone to give them a consolidated, a crystallized view of everything in their financial life.
Right, and that's our specialty because, realistically, it's very difficult as you get older to manage all of those different accounts and understand how it all fits together to create the income stream that you need. And unfortunately, it creates even more of a problem if you pass away and you have accounts everywhere. It is very, very difficult for whoever your executor is to consolidate all of that.
One of the things that I've learned I've been doing this now 33 something years, and you've been doing it.
You don't look that old.
I know. Thank you, Marion. And
I've
nor,
been 25,
nor
yeah, right. I've been doing it for 25.
But one of the things that I always find fascinating is the assumption of what people think their tax rate is when it comes to taking money from their investment accounts, or even what their tax rate is while they're working. And it is usually far less than what they actually believe it to be.
Absolutely. And, the first rule anyways should be do not let the tax tail wag the dog. Because, in other words, you don't want the fact that you have to pay some taxes to prevent you from spending the money. That's just crazy. So, the taxes are what they are. But a lot of people, just because at the end of the year, when you're living off assets, frequently you might end up paying into, you might end up at the end of the year where you haven't paid in enough in taxes because you don't have that withholding anymore necessarily from a paycheck. So it's a very different scenario. You sometimes have to pay estimated taxes or pay taxes when you go to file your return. And people think if they have to write a check, it means they're in a high tax bracket, which is not the case typically.
No, and it's not the case either when you think about the difference in taking money from your portfolio, your investments. So imagine this. Imagine you're working, and your source of income when you're working is generally your paycheck, right?
Correct.
So when you look at your pay stub, you have federal tax withheld, state tax if it applies,
Right.
FICA tax, Medicare tax. Maybe you have deductions for a 401k, maybe for life insurance, maybe for disability insurance, maybe for UNICEF, whatever it is that you're putting money
Right.
into. And so you look at all those deductions and then you see, well, here's what I take home. After my $100,000 salary, maybe at the end of the day, I might be taking home $50,000 because I put all this money into the 401k, paid to taxes, et cetera.
Right.
Well, if you were taking home $50,000, that means you need $50,000 to survive. But when you take money out of your IRA, or certainly take money out of your IRA rather than a paycheck, remember, you're not having to put money into a 401k, you're not having to pay FICA tax, you're not having to pay insurance, Medicare, and all those other things.
Right.
You are simply having to just pay the state and federal tax from the IRA.
Right.
So your tax rate is going to shrink. On top of that, if you need to take money from a personal investment account, not an IRA, what happens there, Marion?
Yeah, that's the money you take from there. It could be dividend income or capital gains, and capital gains are taxed at a very low tax rate if you are in a low tax bracket. If you get into a higher tax bracket, it's still the capital gains tax rate is anywhere between 15 and 20%, depending upon your tax rate.
Actually, it's a zero for many people.
Yes, and if it's under, I think it's $75,000 or something like that for a joint couple, you pay zero capital gains.
But there are ways when you look at your individual account to say, maybe I could get money out of this portfolio and pay little to no tax.
Right.
So there's all sorts of strategies. Now let's say you got money in the bank. If you had $100,000 in the bank and you say, I want $20,000, how much do you have to pay on tax for that?
Zero.
Unless it's in an IRA, of course, but...
Right. But if it's just in a bank account, it's zero. Now, you pay tax on the interest on bank accounts. And, 5 years ago, we didn't have to talk about that because you were getting pennies as interest. Now there actually is interest. But you pay tax on that interest whether you take it out or not. So keep that in mind when you're thinking, oh, I can't touch that interest, or I can't do this, or I can't do that at the bank. You can, and you're paying tax on it anyways, so you might as well use it.
Yeah, and I find it amazing how many people will come to us and they'll ask, Mark, does it make sense to convert my IRA to a Roth? And one of the pieces of software, we have multiple pieces of software here at the office that allow you to take your tax return. We actually insert your tax return into this program, and then it spills out information that says, if you wanted to convert from an IRA to a Roth, or some of your IRA to a Roth, what would the tax implication be? How would that impact your Medicare costs? How would it impact tax on capital gains? All of these things. So these are the things that we need to work with our clients on, especially those that are approaching retirement, in thinking what's the smartest way to do it.
Absolutely. And remember, when you approach retirement or when you leave your full-time job, there are a lot of different factors that enter into the decision as to where you might get income from. But when you think about it, you might have money at the bank, or you might get these payouts before you leave, and there might be a year in which you have no earned income, nor do you have much in the way of taxes. Those can be prime opportunities to take some taxable income. And those are the things we look at. When is it optimum to take the taxable income, pay the taxes on it? Because you might be in an incredibly low tax bracket and be able to get away with paying very little.
And what these children that I was talking about, of these parents, are finding is that the people that they were working with, the investment advisors, the financial professionals they were working with, were simply just giving them advice on, here's an investment to buy, here's an investment to sell. Folks, there's so many more nuances that impact your overall financial life. The taxes are critical. All of the parts, the way you own it. There's so many different components. And that's what you should be paying for along with the investment management advice.
Right. And honestly, the investment management advice, and we'll tell you, it's really very simple when it comes down to that.
Sorry.
It is not, I know, it's really, you create a good, well-diversified portfolio, it can be relatively simple. And keeping it simple, the old KISS strategy, keeping it simple is the best way to go to actually achieve your goals.
You had talked last week, I think it was last week or the week before, about something that Morgan Housel had said about
one of my
one of our
favorite
favorites,
writers, yeah.
And he had said that the more complex you make something sound, is why
Makes you sound
super smart,
right,
or intelligent, or whatever.
Yep.
Yet the simpler the strategy becomes, is the pathway to making you money.
That's right.
And
That's right.
it was a really interesting thought. Now Morgan Housel also offered up some thought to you this week.
Absolutely. So something else I was listening. I listen to a lot of his podcasts, as I think do you.
I do
right?
as well.
Yeah, he's really a fascinating person. If you ever want to listen to him.
And you think our
it's great.
podcast is short? His is even shorter.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Very
jam-packed with
condensed,
information.
Yeah. He's a great storyteller.
That's because he prepares.
Oh yeah. That's right.
He prepares his podcast. Marion and I walk in this room. We go, all right, what do you want to talk about? And we have no idea. I shouldn't tell them.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we just gave away a big secret.
Yeah, I know. Big secret.
So what was it that he said?
So this week it was about, everybody invests for the long term, right? That's the goal. You want to achieve your long-term goals, whether it's retirement, buying a second home, whatever it is. But typically, when you're investing your money and when you're saving, it's for a long-term purpose. However, Morgan Housel says, remember, actually, to go back a minute, if you come to us and you say, oh, what's going to happen in the market in the next 3 weeks? We're going to tell you, who knows? What's going to happen with the election? Who knows? But if you ask us, what's going to happen in 5 years, we have a lot more clarity in that we think the market will be higher in 5 years, because it typically is. Historically, you can look at that.
It's going to go up and down, but generally over time,
That's right.
No promises, but over time, it's been higher over larger and longer periods of time.
And our opinion is it will continue to do so over longer periods of time.
Right.
But what Morgan Housel says is, remember that the long term is only a collection of short-term time frames. So if the big thought process here is you need to also pay attention to the short term, because you need to be able to stay in the market when the market goes down in order to reach the long term. Because if you're looking to get in and out, or if the market goes down and you're not comfortable with it, then you're never going to reach your long-term goals because you're in and out.
When it comes to planning for the short term versus the long term, there's certain things you can control and certain things you can't.
That's right.
And so with a pending hurricane, let's use that as an example. Right now, there are certain things you can control. You can go out and get water. You can get toilet paper, paper towels, stock up on food, or you can
leave your house.
Yeah, you can evacuate too.
There are a lot of warnings right now in Florida, or there's been a lot of warnings that you should probably leave if you're in certain areas and you see a hurricane coming.
Right. Those are short-term things that you can do.
Exactly.
But you know what does happen? Hurricanes.
Yes, they do.
They happen all the time.
No question. Yes.
There are things you can plan for a hurricane, but you can also know that you're purchasing a home or living in a location or vacationing or owning a business in a place where hurricanes occur, usually in September or October. So
Correct.
We know that there are going to be years when it's good, years when it's bad.
And in some of the places, there are certain things you can do to your home as well. There are hurricane screens and all.
You can do
so
planning.
There are certain things you can do, but it's never going to be 100%. You can't control the weather or how bad those hurricanes are.
That's right. But you know they're going to come.
Correct.
So you know that the risk that you're taking living in a location where there's hurricanes is that there will be periods of time when things are good, periods of time when things are bad. But over the long term benefit is I want to stay in this location,
Right.
knowing full well that there are short-term interruptions that happen along the way, just like what happens in the stock market.
And you just have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared to ride it out as best you can, do what you can, as you say, what you can control, and then know that eventually you'll be able to go back to your home, or there will be a period where there are no hurricanes for a while anyways, and you can enjoy the property again.
Right, but just like as we look at the stock market, though, there are going to be times when we know the stock market's going to go down.
Absolutely.
I assure you of that. It's going to go down. Sometimes it'll go down a lot, but what is a lot? But it will
Right.
go down. We'll also have periods of time when surprise things happen, like a plane going through the Twin Towers on 9/11.
Who would have thought?
Or COVID.
Absolutely.
Or, things
Totally
happen.
unexpected.
But over the long term, we believe investing in the stock market, investing in the bond market, provides to you great long-term results, knowing full well there are going to be detours, there are going to be roadblocks, there are going to be potholes, there's going to be interruptions along the way.
So you need to prepare for that. You need to prepare for that mentally. You need to prepare your portfolio such that it's well diversified, and you've taken steps so that when those occurrences happen, you can ride it out and you understand that there's still money available to you. We will get over this hump eventually. One never knows what the time frame will be, but it's worth it for the long run.
As we oftentimes say, when you're on a boat, you don't want to stare at the waves. You want to stare at the horizon to avoid being seasick.
Absolutely.
And that's what we call financial advice in a language you can understand. If now is the time for you to get serious about your financial planning and investment management needs, I hope you'll give us a call. 978-531-8108. That's 978-531-8108. Or you can visit us on the web, where you can learn all sorts of information about the firm, our fees, the services we provide, the types of clients we service, and of course you can learn information about us. And finally, you can get our newsletter. Comes to your inbox every Friday, 10:30 in the morning. 7,500 subscribers already. Here's what you need to do. Go to our website, freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
Too easy to D.
Financial.com. And that's going to do it for us today. Have a wonderful week, everybody. We'll see you again next week with more financial advice in a language you can understand. You're listening to Dollars and Cents. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
During today's episode of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. Always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.